Zadandani. Welcome back to my personal channel, and today we will be finally opening up the Kanji for Beginners textbook. Just a quick reminder that this textbook is a required book, or well, not necessarily required, but it is extremely helpful for this class. And if you don't have it, honestly, I think you should probably go and get it before actually watching this video. It's only about 19 bucks, so yeah, very helpful. But obviously, first off, we're going to start with the first lesson. Excuse me. That of the numbers. Now, the first thing to know about the numbers before we actually get into each of them is, of course, the fact that with the number system, you're actually very rarely going to actually be seeing the numbers in their katakana or in their kanji form, I mean. You will likely see them in kanji, hiragana, or more accurate, you'll either see them more often in the hiragana, or you'll just be seeing them as their number forms, which I still don't completely understand, but yeah. Basically, the number form for everywhere else in the world is basically just to keep it standard for everyone. But you will still occasionally see the kanji forms. And the reason that it's important to know these kanji is because of the fact that, one, these kanji are used in other kanji quite often, but also because of the fact that sometimes you will actually see these. And you'll also need to know how to properly say them in hiragana, or whenever you're seeing them. So, yeah. So first off, let's actually start by opening up our books to page, whatever this is, page 15, and start looking at kanji number 1, ichi. So, ichi is just simply a simple line, as hopefully I'm showing on the here. I don't know because I'm recording that afterwards, but yeah. So it's basically just a simple straight line, and you're done. A few things to actually remember, though, is that there's a few other ways to say ichi, and then there's also the sound changes, which we'll get into eventually, but we're not going to be going over them today. We're just focusing on the katakana. If you are... One thing to keep in mind is if that you're talking about an apple, you're actually going to be using hitotsu. So basically anything that's round, as well as there's a few other words as well that you're going to be using hitatsu instead of using ichi. And I'm not going to go over each and every single one of those today, but if you see any of these with the little tsu right after the letter, that is the one that you are going to use if you are... That is the way that you're going to pronounce them if you are actually learning your... or if you're talking about something that's round, which would be whatever the object, o or ga. I think, yeah, either one of those, depending on what the situation is, you'll either use o or ga, and then you would use whatever the specific word is. So if it's one apple, then you would say rengo o hitatsu. So yeah, just something to keep in mind, and we'll talk more about that in the future. Next up is ni, which if you guys actually watched my katakana video, it is exactly the same. Sorry about that. So yeah, it's just 2 lines, and just make sure that the top one is slightly shorter than the bottom one. And again, there is 3, which is very similar. Again, it's 3 lines. Top one is shorter than the bottom one, and the middle one is shorter than both. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And we're not gonna, like I said, we're not going to be getting into each of the different ways to change that now. Next up is the actual challenging one. yon slash shi slash yo slash yotsu slash yeah. The honestly the most complicated one that you will probably be seeing with with a lot of different changes, that being 4, which start out by drawing the top box, then you're going to draw a little line, and then you're going to draw finish up a little you're going to make a little square, and then you're going to finish off by drawing the bottom line. So yeah. Next up is go, which they actually explain this pretty well. 5/go is basically 5 streets. So you have your top line, then you have your line going down, and then your line that goes across and down, and finally you have your bottom line. Next up is, of course, roku, which is 6, which you can, which has probably one of the easiest ones. But basically, with roku, you're going to draw your single line, then you're going to draw a cross, and then you're going to have 2 little lines, and they consider it looking like rock and roll. Oh, I just find that kind of funny. This next up is nana or shichi, which is probably the easiest one to remember because it looks like a banana. But you're basically going to draw a single line across, and then you're going to curve down and beep. Hopefully I'm actually showing it with my actual hands correctly. Hopefully I'm also showing you guys what it actually is done in here on the green screen. Next up is Hachi or 8, which is basically, they explain it like this, when like you're blowing your nose to explain it. But yeah, just make sure that the one that is on the right is going to just make sure that that one is just a little bit above where, or starts a little bit above where the other one starts. So yeah. Next up is Q or Ku, which, yeah, that is actually in Izuku's name. if you know about My Hero Academia, these numbers will actually be pretty important if you because each name has these kanji within them. So Q is the more common one I've noticed, but Ku also happens. Basically, as you can see, that is 9, which is pretty simple. Again, just across, so first you go down, curving slightly to the left, and then you go across, down, and come up, just slightly. Finally is 10, which looks like a T. If it looks like a plus sign, you're good. It's technically supposed to have like a slightly longer line on the bottom, but towards the bottom, but don't worry too much about that. As long as it looks like a cross, you're fine. Okay, next up, Hyaku, which I will actually mention this right now. Certain ones will actually require you to slightly change them. So Hyaku is the most common version. And I will also mention this. You do not have to put ichi in front of ju, which is 10, or hyaku. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And the same goes for sen, which is 1,000, but you do have to worry about it with man, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. But yeah, so hyaku, you start out with a line going across, then a line going down from that, which slightly to the left. Then you're going to draw day, or I guess it's a sun. We'll talk about that in the future, but basically line down, line across and down, line across, and there you go. That is hyaku. And remember that with certain ones, there are sound changes. So san byaku and hap pyaku is 800. Hya pyaku is 800, and san byaku is 300. There are a few other ones, but I'm not going to get into all of that right now. So next up is, of course, sen, which is our 1,000. This is very... Oh boy. So this one, keep in mind that this is similar to chi in katakana, but chi is a little bit more curved. This one, you're going to want to remember, go down, then, well, not down like that. Then you're going to go across, make sure that's straight, and then again, straight with the going down. And there you go. That's sen. And finally, for the numbers, is man, which they say it's like a running man. But basically, you go across, as you can, hopefully you guys can see. Then you go over, down, slightly hook it, and then again, straight down, or not straight down, but slightly curved down to the left. And there you go. Now, the important thing to note about the 10,000, or the word for 10,000, is that from here, everything repeats. So, basically, when you're counting, you start off with ichi, ni, san, ju, blah, 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 blah. When you eventually get to ju, you again start, but you don't want to use ichi. So if you're saying 2,000, you're saying 20, you're gonna say ni ju, san ju, so on and so forth. Again, 100, it's hyaku, ni hyaku, san byaku, so on and so forth. Not going to get into all of the different sound changes. Sen, again, no ichi. It's just sen, ni sen, san sen. Make sure that's san zen. Sorry. Remember that there are some that are going to say zen instead of sen. That's specifically san zen. And also, if you're saying how many thousand, then it's going to be nan zen. So keep that in mind as well. And now, as for man, oh boy. From this, you're going to actually start up again. So if you're... a good thing to keep in mind is that every 4 digits is actually the equivalent to our comma. So make sure that you remember that. So, ichi man, ni man. Eventually, it gets to ju man. But you would still, if you are saying 10,000, then it's ju ichi man. Again, so on and so forth. Hyaku man, sen man. And then just avoid, and then eventually we will be talking about what comes after that. But I'm not going to get into that right now. So, yeah, you can actually go to 10 million right now. So, with these numbers, you can go up to 10 million for any number. Usually you're not going to have to go much higher than that, but yeah. So yeah, that's fun. Alright, next up, though, is N, which is how you actually say yen. For those of you who aren't fully aware, in when you're actually in Japan, their currency is called en, not yen. Yen is only for interacting with other people across the world. But en is luckily very simple. It's just a straight line down, then across, down, make sure it hooks, and then from the middle, line down, and then a line to the right. So, yeah, there you go. Those are your number kanji that you're going to need to know. And hopefully I did actually put everything behind me, and our next lesson will be that of, make sure that I actually have this properly, the nature, which is going to include the sun, the moon, and all that jazz. Keep in mind that if you guys want to actually practice, make sure, like I said, to get the book. There are things that you can do inside each book. They have a good chart that will allow you to practice each kanji as you go through it, and then at the very end you have the lesson practice, which will actually help you to properly learn how to use each kanji in certain moments. And it also says each of the different things. And once you have completed that, then I suggest that you take out the disc, put it into your computer, and actually take the test. And I'm sorry about the weird sound effects that you probably just heard. But, yeah. So again, make sure that you do the quiz for lesson 1 once you feel like you have a good understanding of the number system. And hopefully you guys will have all of that done before our next lesson, which of course, like I said, will be the first lesson on nature. I would also like to mention, before we actually conclude, that that this book does not actually go over 10 million for the number system. So if you do want to learn those kanji and so on, and how to pronounce those, then I suggest Googling it and learn it for yourself, because we're not going to be covering that right now, but we will be covering it eventually. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this lesson about hiragana and kanji. Well, I guess it was mostly kanji, but you get the point. Again, please look over everything in the book, and if you haven't gotten the book yet, please get it. These kanji are probably the least used kanji that are in this book for just normally, but it's a good practice for future kanji. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to leave a like, leave your thoughts and questions down in the comments below, and of course, make sure that you clearly state that your thing is a question. And also, if you are new, please subscribe and ring that notification bell, or if you just haven't subscribed yet, because it really helps. And of course, if you do want to support the channels even more, then definitely head down to the description and check out all of our links down there, including our other channels, our social medias, and ways that you can support us financially, including our Patreon, which a big thank you to our current patron, Sheeny, and of course, the merch store and the book. But anyways, guys, I've been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on!